Hello, welcome back. We're here for the it's the first proper episode, isn't it, of the Making It podcast. So thank you. Can I just say first of all before we start, thank you to everyone that's been listening, commenting, and talking about it, because we appreciate it. I don't know about you, Dan, but I've been eager to come and do the next one. To be honest, I feel like it's been an eternity since we did it. It's only been a week and a half. So how have you been?
Yeah, I've been good. I've been quite. I'm a little bit nervous to get back into it. I'm just not nervous, but I'm excited to do it again. Like, it's almost like I haven't really been thinking about it too much this week. But when it comes to me now that we're recording, like, I'm just excited about it. I've been good. Very nice, chill time at home. I'm going back to uni tomorrow, so I'm gonna be missing you and the family and people around back home. But going back to Newcastle tomorrow. But it's been really nice. I was thinking to myself, I feel like this period of being at home, away from uni, has probably been my best period. And I feel like right now I've got a lot more of a sort of like hold on my life in a way. I feel like I used to come back and it was just felt like a rush. Like, I've got to see everyone. I've got to do everything. But this time I feel like I've been making the right choices. I've not been rushing about. I've been seeing the right people. I've been doing the right things. And I think that just comes down from making the right choices. And the question you wanted to ask me, go for it. Ask the question.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because I know obviously it's been New Year since we did the episode, and we did the episode like a bit before the New Year, the introduction. But I was kind of keen to know, because it's something that I've been thinking about, and I still don't actually have an answer. So I think this is an evolving thing. But because I didn't want to do it as in like a, hey, Dan, name every single thing you want to achieve this year, and also to you listening as well, I wanted to kind of ask, what are three main things that you really want to achieve this year? And they can cover a broad sort of playing ground if you like, but like, what are the three things you really want to achieve this year?
See, I've been thinking about it a lot, and obviously there's always New Year's resolutions. Like, I remember when I was a kid and it was New Year's Eve and someone goes, "Oh yeah, what's your resolutions?" Like, what the blooming heck is your resolution?
Don't eat chocolate, or I want to eat salad or something stupid
green
like that.
beans, do you know what I mean? But now it's like, I feel like I've got more of an understanding of it, but I don't really feel like it's a fresh start this time. Like, every year for me always felt like a fresh start, a new beginning. It's a new year. What am I going to change? But I feel like I spoke about to begin with just then, I feel like I've had a good control of things. I feel like things right now are in a good flow. So I'm just trying to kind of take in what I've been doing into the new year. In terms of three things I want to achieve, I don't really think I have a certain limit on it. I don't think I have three things I know I want to do. Don't get me wrong, I've written down a few things. So with my Instagram page, I would like to hit 250 followers.
Plug it, bro, please. What are you saying? My Instagram, plug it, bro.
At Dan Ferguson _SP. If anyone wants to go follow that page, basically, as we spoke about in the introduction episode, I'm trying to get into sports psychology, so I do videos on there every day. So I really do recommend having a look at that page. It's good fun. But even just saying that, then though, I don't really have certain goals. I'm so process driven. I love to focus on the process. So I like to focus on what I do every day. So for me, I'm rolling into 2025 with what I was ending 2024 with. And yes, there are a few things maybe I want to tweak, or maybe there's a few things I want to leave in 2024. Maybe some sides of me, maybe I want to kind of let go of a little bit. But I wouldn't really say, and it's okay if you have three things you feel like you want to achieve. But from my end of things, I don't really have three set things I want to achieve. I just want to keep being me, keep being authentic to myself. And when I spoke about earlier about making the right choices, it's just following my intuition, following my gut, and doing the choice which fits right for me. So we always have that feeling, like a feeling when we're doing something which isn't quite right. It doesn't quite feel right to you. So I'm trying to limit that feeling as much as possible and just make the right choices this year. So maybe it's three values. I want to be authentic, just make the right choices, and just stick to doing stuff that I love and being around people that I love. For me, it's three values, maybe not three things I want to achieve. But what about you, Jamie?
Well, there's one thing I want to just say, and this is going to be a bit of a debate sort of thing that we're going to have after this, which I find really exciting. And I'll ask the question before I say the three things, but potentially, is the new year almost an excuse for some dangerous thinking, in the fact that do we kind of do things and we're lazy towards the end of the year, maybe the last few months of the year, because you go, it's fine, I'll do it in 2025? And do we kind of push things away? But I'm going to talk about that because there's 3 things that I've definitely done that I'm like, no, I'll do it next year, it's fine. And then it comes around, you're like, oh, you know. But 3 things I want to achieve this year. I mean, obviously, you know that, and maybe, I don't know, people that are listening don't know, but I'm going to move to Australia like for a year to do something out there. So, I mean, to be honest, bro, even though it's happening, it's still something I want to achieve. You know, it's something I've wanted to achieve.
Tell more people about Australia before you go into what you're going to say. Just give them a bit of a set base about what you're doing this year.
So I'm going on holiday with my mum to Australia. So it means that we're going to have some interesting podcast times for recording, but it's going to be fun. I'm going in 2.5 weeks. So me and my mum are going there to visit her friend who's had cancer treatment. And so my mum wanted to go and see her, as, you know, obviously it's something like that so precarious. You kind of, you know, you don't want to take anything for granted. So we're going to go and see her. And then I'm coming back in February. And then in June, I'm going back there to stay for a year, do a bit of work. Don't smile, bro, because I'm sad. I don't want to go. I do want to go, but I don't, you know. But I'm basically I just want to explore, because you know me, like I like to go and see things. And I feel like I kind of need it. You know, we spoke about it yesterday when we were having some drinks together, that, you know, I feel like I need this. I need I don't need the burden of things happening here or worrying about people, you know, because I'm a worrier. You know, I worry about my friends, you know, I worry about my family, I worry about the place that I work, you know, and I worry about these things. Maybe there's things that are just irrational and you shouldn't worry about, but I care. Do you know what I mean? So to not have to worry about that and just to chill for a bit, I think I need that, you know, and also to discover new opportunities somewhere different. And also just to be warm. I'm going to be honest, I'm sick of it being cold, bro. Like, I mean, I walked outside to put the bins out at work today, and I was just like, you know what, this just isn't for me right now. I'm just not feeling it. I love the cold, man. I love it. So when this is out, it's going to be about -3. So if you're going outside, put a coat on. But yeah, I want to achieve that. That I know is going to happen, but I still want to achieve it. I want to make another big step in my professional life, which I guess is kind of vague, because like, what is that? But again, I don't know, and that's why I think it kind of interlinks with the Australia thing, because it's like, what will my career actually be? I still don't know. I've got an idea, but it's like I'm just learning as I go along. And then number 3, I'd like to learn to drive, bro, to be honest. I've still not learned to drive, you know, and I want to learn to drive. So if I can do that before I go away, great. But if I have to do it over there, that'd be quite funny, actually. I'd like to learn the Aussie way of driving. I can imagine. Yeah. I don't know why I can imagine it being way more funky, but no, seriously, yeah. I think they're the 3 things. They're 3 things that I would like to achieve. But I agree with you on your values point. I think that every new year offers you an opportunity to not recreate yourself, but to kind of add extensions to yourself, you know, and to keep bettering yourself in things you do. And I feel like, and we'll go on to this conversation now. I think that this is a nice way to start it. But I feel like the new year in 2025 is like, hey, you know, this year I'm going to do this thing. Why didn't you do it last year? Do you know what I mean? What holds people back? Like, what's your opinion on it? Because obviously you do the psychology stuff, so you might have a better understanding of this, the kind of the psychological side of it. But why do people wait to the new year? Why is it not a case of, on the Sunday night, you're feeling a certain way, it's Monday tomorrow? But even then, why do people wait for the Monday? Do you know what I mean? There's always I've not been to the gym this week. I've been super lazy. I've been lazy for ages, but I've said, right, I said on last week, I'm going to do it on Monday last week. And then I said to myself, right, I'm going to start tomorrow, which is Monday at the time of recording. Why do we always have to have that sort of landmark for when we're going to start something? Why can't we just do it? Not immediately, but like, why can't we just do it quickly as soon as we think about it?
Yeah, I think it's because it always feels like such a big step. It always that's why we always push it on to the next day or the next week, because it just feels like such a big thing to do. And that's why I think a good way to kind of touch on this, I was just before we started recording, I was actually finishing up a blog on how to turn New Year's resolutions into habits. So that page I just spoke about, Dan_Ferguson_SP, you can find that on Instagram. I post my blogs on there. At the moment it's been weekly, but you can find that blog on there. I think the reason why people don't do those things last year, or they set resolutions with a fresh start in the new year, or they push it on to tomorrow's, because it feels like a big step, but also how are you actually taking action? Because you can ask me, what 3 things do I want to achieve? And I can tell you what I want to achieve, but have I actually thought about how I'm going to achieve those things? So let's say with I want to hit 250 followers on the Instagram page. I'm going to post every day to do that. So it's making those steps. What steps are you going to do? And the best way I like to see it is hold yourself accountable by having daily checkups. So I've got a weekly timetable. It's got every day, and at the bottom I put 3 little squares. One says SP, so every day I learn a sports psychology fact. The other says E, every day I do my exercises. The other says R, every day I want to read. And don't get me wrong, some days I cross them out because I haven't done them. But the fact I have those 3 squares there on my weekly to-do list, my daily checklist, it gives me something to tick off. And if I haven't done it that day, I can then hold myself accountable by realizing I haven't, because I've got something to hold me accountable. So I think if you're someone you're sat here right now, you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, I really want to do something this year. I really want to change that about myself. I really want to do that differently. You know, it's been bugging me. I didn't do it last year. I keep pushing it on to the next day. Well, think about how. And I think you should create a checklist. You should create a sort of system where every day you hold yourself accountable. You know, you can go on the App Store, you can type in day counter, days since, and you can look at how many days you've been doing something. And I think that's why. I think it's because people don't have something which holds them accountable. Because if it's all in your mind, it's not going to happen. But if you put it down, it's gone from your mind to maybe a piece of paper, and now you've got to do it. So for me, that's a viewpoint I have on that. But what about you? Is there anything with your gym? You know, does it feel like a big step? You know, why aren't you going to the gym? You know, you're asking why people don't do it, but how come you're not going to the gym? Can you label anything for that?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I feel like the last 6 weeks has just thrown everything I've hated at me. Like I've got a gammy eye, man. I've got I woke up with that this morning. I've had a cold, and then obviously I twisted my ankle and did something to a tendon like 7 or 8 weeks ago. And I feel like I was worried about my ankle. I was worried about my ankle, so I didn't want to go to the gym and aggravate it. So I've kind of been putting it off. And you know, I do worry about things a bit more. You know, when I get like an injury or something, I'll be honest, I do worry about it a bit more than most people would. You know, and I thought I don't want to aggravate it, so I'm not gonna risk it at the gym. I'm not gonna play football. You know, I was gonna go on Monday night, but it's Forest v Wolves. So, you know, I almost feel like there's been a real reason for not going, but then also some of it's been an excuse. I feel like the last 2 or 3 weeks I probably could have gone. You know, and even if I'm not doing leg day, I can just you know, do other exercises. But again, part of it is just like a laziness. It's like, you know, I go to the gym at varying times. So like I might go midday one day, but then I'll be sitting at my chair in the morning or whatever, and I'll be like, I'm not fancying it. Do you know? I'll do something else. And then there might be some days where it's like after work, and I'm like, I'm not fancying it. It's like 10 at night. You know, I don't want to have to go out in the rain and the cold. And there's that sort of like the weather element that just puts me off, and I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered. And, you know, I might get a beer after work or something like that, which is just a not something I want to do. You know, I was consistently in a routine for a while, and I agree with what you say about like the sort of even the to-do list like that you showed me. I've got my to-do list, and I've been doing it since I first came to see you in Newcastle. Do you know, that's like 1.5 years ago. So, you know, I think the reason I'm not doing it was originally because of my injury. Now it's because of laziness. So, and I've got shame in admitting it, definitely, but I've got no shame in still admitting it at the same time. Like I didn't want this discussion to be, hey Dan, what's the best things going on in your life? What are you doing great? Do you know what I mean? Because this has just got to be honest. I'm just being honest. I've been lazy. You know, I was a bit ill, but it's not an excuse. You know, I went to Greece in October. To be honest, since then I've probably been to the gym for 1 week. Do you know what I mean? In the time between October and like now. So the last 3 months been slacking majorly. But I feel like we all do it, but the new year is that new start for you. Do you know what I mean? And I've taken that a bit less seriously, and I've been a bit less strict on myself, because I've tried to just kind of focus on sleeping better. You know, I think that's one thing I probably should have said in 3 things I want to achieve: sleeping better, I won't say eating better because I eat well, I'm healthy, drinking more water, you know what I mean? Just the basic stuff. And just trying to improve the small things before I move on to the really big things. But, you know, like going to the gym, you know, I'm going to do it tomorrow. So I am just doing what I've been saying, like, why do people do it? But yeah, Monday's the new start for me, like the new year was the start for most people. But it's just about, I think sometimes it's about kicking yourself up the arse and just being like, why aren't you doing it? You know, because you know me, Dan, like I feel dead guilty about not doing things that I should do. You know, if I've wrote down that I'm going to do something that day and I don't do it, I'm just like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, why would you do that to yourself? Because it is a form of punishment. You know, like when you plan to do stuff and you pride yourself on having a good work ethic, like I do. If I don't do it, I'm like, well, what am I? You know, why am I giving myself credit for things? I'm not even doing the small things. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Just my mind's thinking about when earlier you spoke about. I'm thinking about why do we push it onto tomorrow? Like why don't you go to the gym, or why do we need this fresh start? And it's like you're talking about now, like you hold yourself as someone with a good work ethic. Like why aren't you going to the gym? And I see that perspective from you, and it's interesting because I feel like I found myself. It's when I was starting the blogs. You told me for a good few months, maybe even more than that, I should start a blog page. And I didn't do it for ages. And I knew I wanted to do one, but I didn't do it for ages. And it's because I just felt like I wanted to be ready. You know, do you feel like that when you go to the gym? Do you feel like you have to be at a certain level of motivation to go? Does it feel like you need to be psyched up to go to the gym? Does it feel like that
I mean,
at all?
for a period of time, like I didn't need it. Like, you know, between my birthday and in July and like October, I was like, no, I don't need motivation. You know, I used to have a real bad like anxiety about going on my own. You know, so I've been with you a couple of times, but I used to go with my mate Joe. And as soon as you moved to Cardiff, it was like, shit, you know, I've got to like start going on my own. So yeah. I didn't need it. I feel like I learned to self motivate and I was fine. But then, as I say, like the holiday kind of took me off balance, and just a few other things just kind of broke the routine. So that chain of routine that I had. So yeah, I feel like it. As soon as the routine was broke, I struggled to get back into it, and that's something that I would say that for most things it doesn't bother me, but it's almost because gym is like, it doesn't require a lot of mental sort of activation. It's more physical. Do you know what I mean? Like the mental side of it is going right and persisting, which is still hard, but like the actual doing of it, you know, there's just some days where you just sit down and you go, I can't be arsed.
Yeah.
You know, you can't be arsed. It's not a good way to look at things.
Yeah, it's I heard something this week about, as humans we have in our heads that the motivation has to come first. But maybe sometimes the action does. Do the action. It's like sometimes I find myself losing a bit of flow with something, and then I take that small little step. It's like maybe I'm not, say like during Christmas I didn't go to the gym for a good week because I was seeing family. I wasn't exercising as much because I was doing things for Christmas, doing things for my birthday, and all this sort of thing. So life kind of caught up with me in that sense. But then when I went to the gym, I just felt good again. I felt back in the groove. Like sometimes it's just take the action first. It's like they talk about discipline and motivation being two separate things. But just I really want to pin onto it because it's such a great way to bring it up now. And you know, just start. I remember Anthony Taylor, who's I met through LinkedIn. He's a director in what they call AQR consultancy. They have like a MTQ plus. This is all sounding like crazy words.
Yeah, no, I don't know what he's on about. Yeah, by the way. But
yeah. To put it in simple words, I've spoke to someone called Anthony Taylor through LinkedIn, and he looks into mental toughness. He looks into people's attitudes. He goes into businesses. He works on how they can be more driven, how the culture of a business, how people can thrive, be their best selves. And he said to me, just start. I remember I was on the phone to him about the blogs, and I was thinking about all these different things. What should I name it? How should I do it? Sometimes just go for it because you learn by doing. It's like the podcast. It's like right now we could sit before we click record, and we could write down, all right, after 5 minutes, we're going to talk about this. After 10 minutes, we're going to talk about that. But sometimes just start and do it, and you'll learn by doing it. You know, I've got this football coaching internship, and with uni, And when I first started, I'll be honest, like even now I feel like I'm winging it at times because I'm not too sure what I'm doing, but I'm not supposed to know. I'm not Pep, I'm not Jurgen Klopp. I don't know straight away.
Isn't that exciting?
Exactly.
Kind of doing
That's the
something you
exciting
don't know
part
what
of
to
it.
do. Like learning as you go along is, and I think that's actually an underlying theme of this podcast. I mean, I'd have to check our ideas book from my little notepad. But,
mate, I've got my pucker pad ready.
You got yours.
Write something down, mate.
Yeah.
With every podcast, mate, we'll have our pucker pads.
But like, I'm going to keep it with me anyway. But like,
yeah,
the underlying theme has been that sort of, the idea of sort of not knowing and not winging it as such. Because I've seen you doing your thing, man, and I know you're not winging it for a fact. Like I've seen it in its quality. But I kind of think that the idea of going through life and just learning as you go along is so amazing. But people, me definitely, I worry I'm not qualified enough to talk about this. I'm not qualified enough to do this. I've not done this enough. I've not done that enough to even go and do it. And it's just like, just believe in yourself. And, if you've got a good enough work rate and you're a curious person, I think that's something that's really important, being curious, like just wanting to know stuff, just random stuff. Like, that's so important. And like, yeah, the learning on the journey thing, man, as you say, with coaching is brilliant. Like, I mean, that game, I think we should give them a bit of context, because I've still got the lineup. So me and Dan, we went into to his place of work in Newcastle, and best Guinness I've ever had, right? And we ordered a pie. It was did you have the Christmas pie as well?
Yeah, the turkey one. Yeah, unbelievable.
Christmas pie. And I had it with like mash and like mushy peas and just a bit of home in there, the mushy peas bit. And I've got the lineup here. It was brilliant. So we were talking about what team we're going to play, the kind of football you do. So you like your blocks. And it was Northumbria Sixers versus Teesside Twos. That was the game I wrote down. And I've got it in my notes, football notes, Dan's team.
You're going to have to frame that.
You can't see that. But, that game, just that was brilliant. I think that was a mark of our friendship a lot as well, because we went 2-0 down and I thought, oh, God, they're not even good. The team we were playing, I was just like, they're not even that great. I was just like, oh, God, I'm a bit worried here. And then 2 lovely goals from Charlie to end it off, like just nice header and a wonderful goal to finish it off for the equaliser. But 2-2, me and you, Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall. I mean, that was proper, But
no, real good.
But that's like the sort of those kind of moments makes the sort of the doubting yourself and the kind of imposter syndrome part. I don't know if you suffer with that, bro, because I know I do. But sometimes you sit and you're like, am I really good enough for this? I don't think I'm good enough for this. But those sorts of moments, you step back and you go, yeah, you know what? This is fun and I'm good enough for it. I just think it was that, even though I've not seen the whole process for you, was like the fruit. Do you know what I mean? That was the fruit of all the hard work you put in.
Yeah, and it's important what you note there, how you haven't seen every side to it, because obviously you haven't. You're not in my head. But I remember there was this one time we have like a chat where you put the results in with the different coaches, because obviously there's multiple teams with Northumbria. And I just remember one time someone obviously had took control of 2 games or something, and they had won them both by quite a decent amount. And at this point, I'd lost every game with the team. We'd lost every game, and I know I tell myself, learn by doing. You're going to learn by losing, but I feel like you also have to face the fact it's not a nice feeling.
It's a breaking point as well, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And just seeing like the head of football put a thumbs up to those results from the other person, I was just thinking, I want that, man. I would love to just be able to put into the chat with all the coaches the result that I've got, and it's like a 3-0 or something. But that's not how it works. We don't live in a dreamland. But I was almost kind of running away from the fact that I felt that way. Like, oh, it's okay. It'll happen one time. But just face it and think, you know what? I'm learning, and one day it will come. And things don't come so fast all the time. Take that out of context. But in terms of coaching, it's where you got to focus on the process of it, because then the outcome will come. And that's why I spoke about earlier, about the process. It's such a big thing. Process drives outcome. And it's what you do every day. It's what steps you take, and then you'll climb the mountain. You're not going to climb Kilimanjaro
Oh, you're liking this, you're getting in your flow. I'm liking this.
By jumping on a trampoline and all of a sudden you're at the top. It's small steps. So just if I want to put a message out to anyone today, and if we're talking about the new year, if we're talking about resolutions, I believe it seems like such a big picture. It seems like such a big mountain to climb. But please just focus on the small steps. Have a daily checklist. Have something that holds you accountable. What are you doing every day? Bring it down into smaller actions. And soon you'll realize, you'll be like, wow, I did it. And I didn't do it by just thinking of doing it. I just did it gradually. And now I look up and I'm at that top of the mountain. Just do that for yourself because it's important, and it eases the tension and it eases the pressure.
Yeah, and you know what as well is another thing, like, and it's something I'll definitely work on for me, is don't be too harsh on yourself, but be honest with yourself. That's the one thing, because there's some times where I'm just too harsh. I'm just like, I've not done one thing that actually I probably could have just done the next day. Like, I've got a daily to-do list. Like, I've got a weekly one, and then I've got daily things that I need to do. It's probably because I just forget, and I'm just like, oh, what do I need to do today? Like, tomorrow I've got to send off. I sold loads of stuff on Vinted yesterday. It was mad, by the way. This company I bought a shirt off had sent me 6 shirts by accident. So I sold them. Because I went through like a process. I told you, didn't I? But I went through a process, and I was just giving back to the company, and they're like, we can't have them back for whatever reason. So I was like, okay, I'll sell them. So I got 50 quid for them, and I sold them.
Proper Del boy.
Oh yeah, wheeler and dealer, mate. But yeah, I just sold loads of stuff, and I'm going to send that off tomorrow. But like, I was meant to do it today, but I'm not going to beat myself up about it, because it's like, well, I'm recording a podcast today. You can probably see behind me, I've got the Liverpool game on that. I can just turn around and have a look. Priorities, do you know what I mean? But in seriousness, being honest with myself and not taking the sort of self-punishment too far, because it's like, we're only humans, we're just people. I'm just a guy, do you know what I mean? I'm just
a chill guy, man.
I'm just a chill guy, man. But I am just a guy. Do you know what can I do? Like, it's just, you know what I'm saying though? It's like I'm not.
I know where you're coming from. Yeah, it's important to understand you're not some AI robot. Like, you're gonna make mistakes, and it's not gonna be all plain sailing. It's gonna be up and down. And I completely agree with you, man. It's about being kind to yourself. And you know what? I think that's a really nice way to wrap up this episode. I think, in terms of what we've spoken about, and just ending on that sort of topic of be kind to yourself. If you're setting yourself these resolutions, be kind to yourself about it. Some days you may have a little cross on that habit you want to do, or have a little cross on that habit you're trying to do. I've just repeated myself, but there you go. Even I've made a mistake. It happens, and I'm not going to beat myself up for it. Be kind to yourself, guys. Bring that one with you.
You want to end it there?
Have you got something on your mind you want to?
Yeah, bro, I do. I'm going to be honest.
Go for it, man. We don't have to end it now.
I don't want to end it there. No, I don't want to end it there. No, we still got time, I think. We've got another 10, 15 minutes. Look, I just want to be honest, bro. I think that 2025 is it's the year of opportunity in it. And, I think that that's actually a recurring theme. I just see every year, and I'll go at the end of the year, hey, guys, this year's the year of opportunity. And you can view that however you want, and I think, it's going to be strange, this year, because it's like, every year I feel like I'm becoming more of an adult, and things are starting to weigh on me a little bit more. So the last thing I wanted to talk about, and I don't want to, obviously, I don't want to take your time too much, and I don't want the episode to be too long, because I know people have got things to do and stuff. But I want to kind of talk about, like the new year and being 19. Like, I know that's, you ask your mum and dad, and you go, oh, mum and dad, I'm old now. You have a little joke with them, and they're like, you're old, I'm this age or whatever. And you joke with people about it. But, like the start of the new year, I'm like, oh, I'm turning 20 this year. That's quite a big thing. It's a bit overwhelming. Do you know what I mean? So I want to kind of talk about the new year perhaps being a bit overwhelming, and how you can sort of like, maybe not overcome it, because I still don't think that I've overcome it. So I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, I'm the guy that's going to tell you how to overcome it. Listen to me right now. But like, what are your sort of, how do you feel overwhelmed? Do you think about it too much? Because I think about being 19, and like, I think about age just as a thing for me, just too much, because I'm just thinking to myself, God, how long can I do this for? How long can I, how long will I be in this sort of like my fitness, or how long will I be like, in this mindset for. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. There are moments where I feel overwhelmed, where I think about the bigger picture of things, and I get a bit scared. Is it going to go the way I want it to go? Is life going to go the way I want to see it? But I think it just goes back to what I was saying earlier about taking the small steps. If you do look at the bigger picture, it's going to feel like that. And sometimes it's good to feel like that, because it can be a bit of a kick up the backside of, I do want to be there. So am I doing these things every day? Am I focusing on the process? Am I doing those things to drive me to where I want to be? So I feel like a lot of the time with how we think and how we feel, and I guess you can label them as the negative sides of our mind. I think they're difficult because you feel like you want to run away from them, and you always question yourself, why am I feeling this way? But I think sometimes it's good to feel that way. Don't, like we said earlier, be kind to yourself. Feel that way. Feel it. I came up with something this week. It's nothing crazy, but feel it and face it. Don't feel it and run away. Don't feel it and avoid it, but feel it and face it. Sit with it and ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling overwhelmed? And if I was to listen, I'm not in your mind, but if I'm thinking maybe why you feel a bit overwhelmed, I know you want to do certain things, maybe with the age thing, like maybe you're feeling like you've loved being 18.
Yeah.
And then you've loved being 19, and then so you don't want it to go away, because then you're going to turn 20. I'm no longer 19. It's like, but then you're going to love being 20, and then it's going to be like, I don't want to be 21. It's like when you leave school. It's like, I know yesterday you were saying when you left primary school, you're upset about it. It's like, it's such a great thing.
Hold on. My stepdad brought that up, and they showed me a picture of me crying, by the way. Well embarrassing. You're with all your mates in the pub, and they pull out a picture of you crying, wearing a gilet, dressed as an old man for a leavers assembly.
But yeah, in terms of those sort of feelings, like it's important because you've loved that period of time, but things don't last, and things don't stick forever. So embrace what you've done, embrace your last year of being 19, and look forward to being 20, and ask yourself those questions. What have I learned from being 19? Where have I grown as a person? How can I do that when I'm 20? I think it's learning to love the fact that sometimes you have to let go. And I seen there's a podcast called On Purpose, and I don't particularly listen to it a lot, but I've seen a clip of James Corden on it, talking about a balloon and talking about holding onto a balloon, and you just don't want to let go of it because you love that balloon. But then as time goes on, the balloon starts to wilt, and it does get a bit older. So you got to let go of that balloon. But then you can look up in the sky and see that balloon fade away, and it's like, wow, I really enjoyed that balloon, but now it's time for a new one. And you can look at your age as a balloon. You're going to turn 20 this year. That's your new balloon. I think that's a nice way to look at it.
I'd love that so much if James Corden didn't say it, because that is brilliant. I love that.
No, it's a really nice story.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just you don't want to ever get older, sort of thing, because people say to you, don't wish that you're older. I'm not wishing I was older. I'm fine. I'm the only thing I'm wishing is the days would slow down a little bit, so I can enjoy going to football a bit more. But it's like just trying to take things for granted less, because I think we all take things for granted, and people go, well, I don't. I never take things for granted. But come on, let's not talk. Like, let's be realistic. Like, we all take things for granted, and I think I've taken for granted being able to watch the football, and obviously Forest are doing so well now, and that's great because I'm a Forest fan like you. And you take it for granted, and just little things. Time with family you probably take for granted. Time at Christmas you take it for granted a little bit. But hey, that's just one of them things, I think. So that'll be something I'm looking to work on. But yeah, bro, I don't know if you've got anything else you wanted to say on that, but that's kind of the last thing I really wanted to kind of touch on and just ask.
Yeah, I think something I just want to be honest about. I think what this podcast is, what we both agreed on, is the idea of this podcast is being authentic to the listeners, being authentic to ourselves. And I think I want to bring back to what this podcast is about, making it. And obviously we're trying to make this podcast and make it in a sense of it being successful, where we have people taking on our messages, taking on what we're saying. And I think it's important to understand that, like what we touched on today, like, you are going to make mistakes and things are going to happen, which they're not going to go smooth. it's like this podcast. It's never going to be a smooth recording. You know, it's like in that moment where you wanted to bring something up, and I was thinking maybe that was a good moment to wrap it up. Well, it wasn't, because we've then had a great conversation afterwards. And I think it's great that the listeners can see that process, because it's like, that's how it is. You know, everything's such an image these days with social media as well, because you can edit things, and it's just another thing to take on board, you know, with your resolutions. Like, there are going to be bumps in the road, and it's going to be a struggle when you're trying to make it. You're trying to make those resolutions for the year. But just be honest with yourself, be kind to yourself, and focus on that process.
And yeah, and again, don't worry about, like, I would say, you know, and probably do better than I am with going to the gym if that's your thing. Don't miss out on it like I have. But yeah, just be honest with yourself and take every day as it comes. And just most importantly, enjoy it, because it's a big year. You know, no matter how old you are, if you're older than us, if you're younger than us, just enjoy it, because you know, that's just what we got to do. That's why we're on this planet to do. Enjoy ourselves. So there's a really good quote by Pitbull that I wanted to say, but I've completely forgot it. It's so funny. I'll put a link actually in the comments. So yeah, view that. But yeah, I just want to say thank you again to everyone for your support. You know, if you've just listened to this episode and you're enjoying it, give us a follow on Spotify. We are going to move to Apple Podcasts as well soon. We're on Instagram, YouTube, all with Making It Poddy as the name, at Making It Poddy. Twitter, TikTok, right? We're on TikTok.
Yeah, we've got TikTok.
Dan does that because I ain't got a clue at all, because I'm like, I don't use TikTok, which is crazy in it. But Dan, thank you for everything that you continue to do, and it's been good talking to you. I mean, we're probably going to just chat for like 4.5 hours anyway this week over phone calls, but we thought we'd get at least the best stuff out today. But no, thank you, man, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
Take care, guys.
Take care. That was the Making It Podcast, episode 2. Happy New Year, people. I'll see you very soon. Peace out. Feel so right.